Welcome to the O Show. I'm Laura Babcock, and as we wrap up the month of July and head into the dog days of summer in August, we are seeing some things heat up at Hamilton City Hall. We just got the bombshell news that our city manager, Janette Smith, is taking an early exit. She'll be leaving in October. That's something that we've been advocating for here on the O Show, our guests and myself included, for over a year. We need a new city manager. We need a good process this time. No secret hiring at some off-site hotel. We have a lot to talk about, and we'll do more shows on that as we go through the summer. But the big question that's on everyone's minds, and we're hearing it more often now that Olivia Chow has started off as mayor of Toronto, is where is our mayor? Where is Andrea Horwath on the Greenbelt fight? Seriously, where is she on that? She had a strong position on it before, but she hasn't been at the rallies against it. She hasn't been leading on this, and she's even promoting the premier's plans around signing off on a housing pledge and meeting with his government. Why isn't she fighting? Where's the Hamilton scrapper we were promised in the election? Where is the mayor more broadly on other urgent issues in our community? Where is she on issues? Where is she on the Greenbelt fight, Graham? Let's maybe start with that. Because we have some fascinating footage of Councillor John Paul Danko that I want to run a clip in a minute, just around how she is, it seems like, kowtowing to Ford when she told us back in 2020, that we needed to fight to protect our green belt. And yet ever since he reversed his promise on it and he's exploiting it, it feels like she's kind of helping. I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, in terms of where is she, I think she's in a small room somewhere, second guessing herself. I don't think I think she's worried about being as transparent as she claims she wants to be, or she told us she would be. The fact that she went on this so-called mission trip, I don't even know, that's a term I've never heard before, but Andrea, I guess, invented it to try to make it sound important. Look, I don't care if people go on vacation. They're entitled to that. This was not a vacation. This was a, quote, business trip. And, spun as sort of an economic development mission. And if I may say so, that's just utter bullshit. The total population of all the places she was feted is about the same size as like Ward 5 population, all of them together. It's like 50,000 people, something like that.
Like
if it's 100.
She saw a picture of she took a picture of a big, ugly, open fish recycling bin piece of art and wants to send it back to senior staff for consideration. Like they've got nothing better to bloody well do with their time.
This whole mission trip was, as I've used the hashtag, bouquets and banquets. That's all it was. But that's, what, Laura? It always has been that. This is not the first time this trip has taken place. Every mayor has done it before, Andrea, back as far as Bob Morrow. But they didn't spin it as if they were going to bring back a big factory, and employ 5,000 Hamiltonians. So she came back with memories and some shitty photographs. That's it. It's so unsophisticated. It's embarrassing. It's pandering. And she was grasping for something because she was getting some pressure.
I don't begrudge these mayors going on whatever this trip is. What I begrudge is her not doing anything the rest of the time. 9 months she's been in this gig. 9 months.
Yes.
And up till now, as I said in a previous O Show, I saw one of her friends one evening and her friend said to me, oh, she's getting her feet wet for the last 7 months. And I laughed out loud. But you know what? The honeymoon ended when Olivia Chow jumped into the job in Toronto and immediately fast-tracked affordable housing permits and immediately said she wasn't going to take the strong merit powers and immediately went out for $100 million from the feds for the refugee crisis and immediately did press conferences. I mean, in other words, acted like a mayor. So now that we have this clear juxtaposition, and I just did a Toronto podcast on it this morning, 2 NDP mayors, connections, lots and lots of opportunity with Jagmeet Singh and the pressure he's got over the Trudeau government to really push those relationships. And it looks like the pressure from Olivia Chow's performance is getting to Andrea. She just put out a letter to the federal government asking for $9 million for homelessness and refugees. I mean, it's way too little and 9 months too late. Where is our mayor, Graham? Like, let's talk Greenbelt. What the hell? Like, before we get to the homeless stuff, what the hell on the Greenbelt?
Well, the Greenbelt, we have two facts and one lie. The lie is she's the Hamilton scrapper. You know, you can count on me. Everybody knows that I'll stand up and fight back. That was during the election. And then she won by 1%. And then now look at the facts. What has she actually done? She pushed council to approve the housing pledge, which Ted McMeekin said at council was, don't do it. They're going to use it against us, which Minister Clark did almost immediately, saying Hamilton's on side, along with a whole bunch of other municipalities. So the suggestion was we were on side with Doug Ford. Then the second big thing was just, this happened while she was away, but according to John Paul Danko at council, she instructed or requested council support, agreeing to negotiate, to sit down with Doug Ford's provincial facilitator, who I view as just a note taker. I don't care who it is, doesn't matter. The fact is the person has no power, no authority, other than to take notes and listen.
Well, and here, let's run the clip, because what John Paul says in this clip blows me out of the water.
It's bad.
All understanding that this provincial facilitator in this process is something that the province has put in place to try to legitimize a process that has no legitimacy. I think that's clear, that's pretty obvious. But one thing that I failed to mention at Planning Committee and as chair is that the mayor did communicate to us that her preference would be that we do provide our staff direction to meet with the province. So I think just for council's consideration, and as the mayor is not here to articulate that, I think that's just important for us to have that information as we consider where our vote's going to go. Thank you.
John Paul Danko saying off the top that this is clearly an attempt to legitimize a process that has no legitimacy, which means that, like, why on earth would you participate in a farce like that, a PR exercise to support something you don't believe in? Like, don't be a part of that if it's illegitimate. But then goes on to say that the mayor pressured them to do it, and then adds the cherry on top that the mayor's not there to, I mean, she's not even, she's MIA even on this. So here they are acting on her behest, doing something that he knows is illegitimate. I can't understand how she went from saying she would fight Ford on the Greenbelt to having council do her bidding for Ford when they themselves even know that it's not a legitimate thing to do. I mean, how do you read this situation?
Well, I agree. I think what she is not doing is acting as a mayor. She should escalate this to the premier's office. She supposedly has a fabulous working relationship with Doug. Why doesn't she use it? Why doesn't she go to Queen's Park and meet with him in his office? She knows where it is. Maybe she should take all of council with her, take the media with her as well, saying Hamilton is going to fight back. We're going to protect our green belt. We're going to protect our residents. We're going to do the right thing. And Doug Ford, you're misunderstanding and misreading the will of the people, at least in Hamilton. She has done none of that. There isn't a single quotation you can find after she was elected mayor that would support that approach. She's caving. Every time she's had a chance to publicly push back or fight back, she's caved and agreed to Doug Ford's rules. That's not how you negotiate in a crisis. Laura, let me go one step further and say, it simply confirms my conclusion, which I came to months ago about Andrea. She is an imposter. She is a complete and total fake. She is not a scrapper. When somebody is in the same profession for 26 years, in this case, politics, I expect something a lot more savvy, a lot more strategic, and a lot stronger than what I'm seeing in Andrea Horwath. She is an imposter.
Well, I know I used the expression Pinot, progressive in name only, on a previous Oshow, because I just don't understand it. People thought I was talking about Pinot Grigio. I like Pinot Grigio. I do not like Pinots. I mean, why position yourself as a scrapper? Why position yourself as someone who's going to take the fight because you've got these great relationships and all of this potential right? I don't begrudge her deciding to leave the NDP provincially when her leadership would be in question. You know, ride it out for a bit, give some 6 months of you know, pretending to do your seat you were elected to, and then transition out to the new leader and retire. Have at. But don't take this job.
She bailed.
Well, she did bail. So she bailed early. She didn't respect her voters. She got very mad at me when I raised that obvious point with her. Like, you know, you did it. You quit right after you got elected. So that's on her. But what bothers me is that she took this job at a time when Hamilton needed someone who would actually be a scrapper for the city. You know, why is she staying in the role if she's not willing to do the job? Because we have a housing crisis. We have a homeless crisis. We need a mayor who cares and who fights, not who sits in the room and second guesses herself.
In leadership circles, there's a simple equation that leadership or performance is a function of ability plus willingness. And when it comes to willingness, you start to question, is Andrea's heart really in this? Is she really keen to do what she said she was going to do? But I'm afraid I've come to the conclusion that we have an ability problem. We have a willingness problem. I agree. I actually think the bigger problem is one of ability. I watched hours of council discuss council's priorities. And I watched Andrea, and she was desperate to get this approved and pushed through. And one could say, oh, that's a good thing. She's really working hard to get the priorities done. The priorities were a shambles. They were a complete mess. The 3 statements are fine. But underneath that, they're just words. And they do provide a focus. But if you looked at how they were defined, and worse, how they were measured, it was just junk. And let me tell you, this is an area of expertise of mine. I understand how you do strategic plans and how definitions, language, and metrics matter. Andrea doesn't understand that. She was pushing these things through, and then literally as the vote was taken, a media release was sent out saying how proud she was and excited about the new priorities and the action plans. She had the temerity to say, when she got pushback from council members, oh, well, these metrics don't have to be precise. We're going to throw them over to staff. They'll come back and tell us if they're possible or not, and then we can change our mind. It's like, are you kidding me? That's spoken by someone who's never actually led an organization, who would waste the time of staff guessing about metrics to come back and spin again. She doesn't understand the severity of what she just said. But what she was desperate to do was to get these things passed, voted on, so she could go to Italy. And I mean that. Let me say it one more time. Get these things voted on, passed, so she could go to Italy for 2.5 weeks, and then to New York, as it turns out, for half a week. That's what happened, in my opinion.
Okay, so the fact that she doesn't understand how to do that, okay, fine, I'll give her a pass on the lack of ability. Kind of hilariously, she took a victory lap on Twitter, which I'm seeing her do more often, about these. And Mayor Fred popped out into the Twitterverse and clapped back at her, saying, no, you're not the first mayor to have done this, right? So, I mean, she tries to take this little victory thing that she's accomplished something. The former mayor comes out and tries to kind of push her back on that, which watching it, it's like, where's the popcorn?
She is someone who will, she thinks once she's got a title for something like the encampment protocol or the housing blueprint or the housing secretariat, job's done. I mean, I'm serious. Have a look at it. Laura, I would invite others to do exactly what you just did. If you don't like what you're hearing from me, right, give me some facts. Show me what you like about it. And don't use labels like Andrea does. Give me some substance. Give me some details. If you think that the encampment protocol is a good step, tell me about why. What is in it that you like so much? Because this is where we're falling down, is on details. We have some counselors who are extremely good at details.
But the articulation of the vision and the care is what's killing me here. So, okay, she can't handle details, or doesn't know how to do strategic planning, or doesn't understand policy, or lacks a certain depth or ability, or whatever. And if we're wrong about all that, prove us.
But other than that, she's fabulous.
But why isn't she?
It's just terrible.
It is terrible.
Like I said, performance is a function of willingness plus ability. I think fundamentally we have an ability problem.
So
I don't think Andrea knows what to do. And so she's doing what she thinks she knows how to do. And one of those is to cave to Doug Ford. Another is to use labels to suggest success and progress. She doesn't know what to do next. I honestly don't think it's a willingness problem. I don't think she knows what to do. And she doesn't have staffers, or maybe she doesn't have a willingness.
$1 million for the staff in her office, doesn't she?
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, you can piss away $1 million on bad staff or mediocre staff. What she needs, maybe she had this, I've certainly been told this by insiders when she was head of the provincial NDP. People were feeding her talking points, information, facts, and she was spouting those things. And she was reasonably good at that. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, but does she have an original thought? If she does, and the representation of that is a basket fish with garbage in it, I mean, I'm worried. I think we got hoodwinked. We have an ability problem, and I think Andrea is an imposter. I'll say it, put all three of those together.
Well, I think we've made the case here based on the evidence that she's not, where's our mayor, literally or figuratively, not where she needs to be. What does she need to do going forward, Graham? Because unless she's going to retire, we got 3 more years of this. So do we manage our expectations?
Well, the problem, if you have an ability problem versus a willingness problem, is just, shouting at somebody saying, come on, do better, get to the front of the line, stand up for us. If they don't know how to do that, then it doesn't make any difference. So what I would suggest is we accept that we have a dud mayor, we have an imposter, and we move on. How do we move on? We focus on council. We have a lot of a good, strong ability from some council members. And I think we need to focus on them, and we need to encourage them to do what many of them have been doing, is to speak their minds, to put forward motions, to challenge staff, to push back on things, but also to encourage where appropriate. We have many new councillors and some who are second-term councillors who have both the willingness and the ability to perform extremely well. And I would think we should focus on them and just acknowledge that we're not going to turn Andrea into the mayor we want her to be. She doesn't have the capacity. This is my opinion. Yeah, but does not have the capacity. I hate to admit defeat, but we've got 9 months of evidence.
I can't accept that. I want to know how you feel about our city manager leaving.
Well, Laura, the first thing I feel is relief. I am glad that we are going to get a new city manager. Of course, we need to make sure that the hiring criteria are very clear. What's the mandate that we're going to be offering this city manager? Sadly, the old guard wanted status quo protected, and that's exactly what they got. So I suppose they were successful in the candidate they selected. Unfortunately, the residents of Hamilton were not. So whether Jeanette retired or was encouraged to move on doesn't matter. The fact is she's gone, or will be gone very shortly. I hope that the mayor and council will be very transparent. They claim this is a big issue for them. They want greater transparency. What's the job description? What's the mandate? What do you want the new city manager to be and to do? And let's spell it out, let the public see it, and then start looking for the best candidate to fill those shoes. We've never done that before, to my knowledge. The hiring has taken place, but like you said in your introduction, Niagara-on-the-Lake was apparently the only place where a meeting room existed. And we had candidates coming in based on media reports in disguise, so they wouldn't be recognized. It was just a complete farce.
It was ridiculous. We even had Hamilton citizens taking buses to go and try to, report on what was happening. It was a total mess. But let me push back on you on one thing you said, that it doesn't really matter how or why Jeanette Smith is leaving. I think it matters a lot, and I'll tell you why. On previous shows, and you've even done op-eds on this going back several years, we needed a new city manager, somebody who wasn't there part of the Sewergate cover-up, somebody who wasn't hired in secret by the old guard. We pushed heavily for that. here on this program, as you did in the Spectator, and other guests have done on the O Show. The fact that she's leaving early, I think, is a testament to that pressure from us, from maybe new councillors who are around the table. Maybe the mayor herself decided that Jeanette had to go. And if that's the case, good on Andrea. Whatever it took to change that staffing, because there are other people around Janette Smith, and we'll do another O Show on this in the next week or two, who also need to go, who represented this anachronistic, I think expensive, mediocre way of running the city. And I've got an op-ed in the paper, in the Spectator about this. So this is a major thing, and the why she left matters, how we got her to leave matters. And also, Graham, it's saving us a ton of money for her to take her own early exit, because I know on an O Show you broke down the costs it would take us to fire her. So I do think it's important. I think it's important when civic discourse and pressure from the public makes a difference in terms of how we're going.
Fair enough. I would say, however, we don't know the details of the quote retirement. I don't know when her contract came to an end. I don't know if there was just they came to an understanding and it was positioned as retirement and there would be no further compensation after she left. I don't know any of those details. It's not impossible that she also got a year's worth of salary, but called it a retirement. And it doesn't, like I say, I take your point that it matters because it was, many of us felt that she was performing poorly. And I wrote an op-ed in the Spec in 2020, 3 years ago, being very concerned about what I was seeing, which was a lack of change, a lack of push to make things better, but rather just a push to keep things the same. And that, as it turns out, that's precisely what happened. Although I might go so far as to say it actually got worse. It didn't get better. Staff started performing even more poorly than they did under Chris Murray.
Well, yeah, look at the city clerk with the election. What a debacle. I'm not questioning the results. I'm saying that there were all kinds of mistakes, high profile, terrible mistakes, even on election day.
Well, look at encampment protocol.
Yep.
Look at the housing blueprint. I mean, this is just junk.
Look at the media policy that no one asked for, that our staff wasted precious council time, and now we've got consultants looking at. I mean, it's madness. It's madness. Yep. She's leaving. I'm good with that. I just want to make sure the people who listen and watch our program understand. You can't get change unless you fight for it. So let's keep fighting.